California voters line up at the polls to cast their ballots. We'll have a look at turnout for today's primary election.
So I'm not going to defend these kinds of comments because they're indefensible.
The controversy is continuing over Donald Trump's remarks about the San Diego judge in the lawsuit against Trump University. And do you know what happens to your old cell phones and laptops when you give them to a recycler? We'll follow the EWaste Trail. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us on this election day. I'm Amitha Sharma. San Diego County election officials say it's been smooth sailing at the polls today with no major problems. KPBS reporter Kenny Goldberg says local residents were able to vote at nearly 1,300 locations.
There wasn't much foot traffic during the 9 o'clock hour at the University Avenue Baptist Church polling place. That meant no waiting in line for voters from the college area. Susan Rogers and her husband, Tom Abram, were in and out in just a few minutes. Rogers said it was easy to cast her ballot.
My husband helped me do homework on the candidates, and so I knew ahead of time what to vote for, which really helped. So just go in there, check the boxes, get my sticker.
Voters had their choice of ballots in English or in 4 foreign languages, including Spanish and Vietnamese. That's the county-wide standard. Poll workers were available to lend a hand, too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Erica Diaz and many other local residents cast their ballots at the County Registrar Voters Office in Kearney Mesa. Diaz said she never misses an election.
I think this election is one of the biggest elections in my lifetime. I'm 34 years old, and the presidential primaries at this point are very contentious, and I felt it very important for me to vote today.
Voter turnout in San Diego County in the last presidential primary in 2012 was only 37%. The County Registrar of Voters, Michael Vu, hopes for better numbers this time.
All right, thank you.
Vu is projecting up to 60% voter turnout in this election. Vu said he's encouraged by the fact that 106,000 county residents newly registered to vote this year.
One of the things that we're also seeing is that we've sent out a record number of mail ballots. We sent over 970,000 of those mail ballots, and at this point in time we have over 310,000 ballots in-house already.
The official voter turnout will be released when Vu certifies the election on July 7th. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
Here's a live look at Election Central at Golden Hall downtown. This is where the candidates gather to talk to supporters and the media on election night. And we will be there this evening bringing you live coverage of the election results. Our coverage from Golden Hall starts with a live broadcast from 10 to 10:30 tonight, and then again from 11 to 11:30. We will bring you the latest results and analysis from Golden Hall and also from the election night headquarters for San Diego's Democrats and Republicans. You can also hear our coverage on the radio at 89.5 FM. And we will have results online at kpbs.org. The site will be updated as new numbers come in throughout the evening. Donald Trump says his comments about a San Diego judge were misconstrued. Trump has claimed that Judge Gonzalo Curiel cannot be impartial in the lawsuit against Trump University because Curiel is of Mexican descent. Trump has been criticized for that statement, even by his supporters, including House Speaker Paul Ryan, who says Trump's statements are textbook examples of racist comments. But the House Speaker says he's not backing away from his support of the presumptive GOP presidential candidate.
I'm not going to defend these kinds of comments because they're indefensible. I'm going to defend our ideas. I'm going to defend our majority. And I think our likelihood of getting these ideas into law are far more likely if we are unified as a party.
Trump now says he doesn't feel one's heritage makes them incapable of being impartial, but he feels justified in whether he's getting a fair hearing in the Trump University case. San Diego State University is looking into a case of what it describes as hateful and bigoted messages found in a campus restroom. This comes just 1 month after protests over anti-Muslim flyers that were passed out on campus. The university says it rejects divisiveness and hate, and it's offering counseling services for the campus community.
If you're talking about gender, culture, ethnicity, that can hit pretty close to home. It's very personal, and so it may be triggering of other things that have happened, or like I said, increase the sense of anxiety overall or unsafety. So we would talk with the person about what they are experiencing and what the needs are.
The university says the messages were removed right away. Helen Chavez, widow of civil rights and labor leader Cesar Chavez, has died at age 88. A family statement says she died Monday at a hospital in Bakersfield, surrounded by her children and grandchildren. Helen Chavez was born in Brawley and met and married Cesar Chavez in the 1940s. The couple left a comfortable middle-class existence in East Los Angeles to organize farm workers in California's Central Valley. Cesar Chavez died in 1993. The Del Mar City Council approved a new climate action plan Monday night. The city is the first in the region to follow the lead of the city of San Diego, which passed its ambitious climate action plan last year. The Del Mar plan sets a goal of reducing greenhouse gases in half by 2035 and eventually reaching 100% clean energy. It will double the number of bike lanes built and triple the number of trees planted. The plan will also explore community choice energy, which allows the city to buy its power from sources other than SDG&E if cleaner options are available. When you buy a new phone or computer, you might take your old one to a recycler. It's the green thing to do, right? Well, some of those devices may not be getting recycled at all. From EarthFix, Ken Christensen and Katie Campbell follow the EWaste Trail.
So everybody, this is scenario one. We're buying equipment. We look around, see what they have, and we start haggling over the price. So any questions?
No, sir.
I think it's right up here, about a quarter of a mile.
Jim Puckett is leading a team that's going undercover to find out what actually happens to electronics that are sent to U.S. recyclers.
Most of the public still thinks a recycler is a recycler and that they're going to recycle it right there in America. They're really exporters, and they don't care what happens at the other end.
Shows us 10 meters out.
Puckett is the founder of the Basel Action Network, a Seattle-based watchdog group that investigates the afterlife of electronics.
We're basically trying to stop the rich countries from dumping their hazardous waste on the poorer countries.
In this case, Hong Kong.
But they're running.
Running away?
To get inside, a local driver and translator posed as e-waste buyers. With people buying new computers and other electronics more frequently than ever, electronic waste is now the fastest growing waste stream in the world. On top of that, it contains toxic materials that can poison people and the environment. This investigation began months ago, when Puckett's team put GPS tracking devices inside 200 old computers, printers, and TVs. Then they dropped them off at locations across the country, at recycling facilities, donation centers, and electronics take-back programs, including some of the industry's most reputable companies.
We sat back and said, where are they going to go? And the little devices went out and spoke to us, saying, this is where I am.
Puckett's group partnered with Carlo Roddy of the Sensible City Lab at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Tracking is really the first step in order to design a better system. One of the surprising things we discovered is how far waste travels. You see these kind of global e-waste flows that actually almost cover the whole planet.
Each device traveled an average of about 2,500 miles, and around a third of the tracked computers were exported. Of those, most ended up here. Hong Kong is home to one of the world's busiest ports. Ships deliver more cargo than is possible to inspect. As a result, Hong Kong has a reputation for being a transit point for illegal trade and smuggling of all kinds.
Turn right onto Tin Fog Road.
Most of the exported tracked devices led Puckett to a little-known part of Hong Kong called the New Territories.
It's really a frontier. It's really cowboy land out there.
Puckett followed one tracked printer here to a place that calls itself a farm.
Farmland.
Farmland? Yeah, that's a great farm in there.
You would have no idea that there was a huge scrapyard there until you look over the fence.
Inside, they found printers being taken apart by immigrant workers.
I'm looking for asset tags to tell me where the material came from. I look for the environmental harm issues. I look for the workstations to see how those workers might be exposed.
Many of the workers handle hazardous material without protective gear. One concern, printer toner, a probable carcinogen.
There's no protections of this labor force. There's no occupational laws that are going to protect them.
Jackson Lau is the head of the Hong Kong Recycling Association. He runs a licensed recycling facility in the New Territories, and he says the junkyards in the area that import e-waste are unlicensed and unregulated.
只不過停留喺一個分類拆解個過程，咁整個呢個處理過程咧，其實就唔係一個好完善嘅設備嘅，咁形成咗咧有啲冇價值嘅嘢咧會堆放咗喺香港裏邊咧。老細
Look at the tubes, many tubes thrown on the ground here.
The white fluorescent tubes light up LCD screens. Each of them contains mercury, and even a tiny amount can be a neurotoxin.
Day in and day out, these workers are completely oblivious to this hazard, are smashing these. The tubes are breaking right in front of their faces, and mercury is very toxic.
你哋要戴口罩。I asked him that if he knows the white tubes are dangerous. He has no idea.
The United States is the only developed nation that hasn't ratified an international treaty to stop first world countries from dumping e-waste on developing nations. Other developed nations set e-waste collection mandates and require electronics manufacturers to pay for domestic e-waste processing. Further, the United States has no federal laws requiring electronics to be recycled. Half of states allow electronics to be dumped in landfills. John Shigarian is the CEO of Electronics Recycling International, the largest e-waste recycling company in the United States.
It takes hundreds of employees in each facility to do the real work of electronic recycling.
He says that some recyclers are exporting to cut costs because in the last 2 years, their biggest source of revenue has plummeted.
At the height of the market, when we would go to sell steel, plastic, aluminum, gold, silver, palladium, copper, we were getting 14 to 15 cents a pound more than we are today.
Dell Reconnect, an exciting program that makes getting rid of old technology easy.
Dell was the first major computer manufacturer to ban the export of non-working electronics to developing countries. They partnered with Goodwill, allowing people to drop off old computers of any brand for free to be refurbished or recycled. The electronics are either dismantled on site or sent to Dell's recycling partners. Dell says that more than 400 million pounds of e-waste has been diverted from U.S. landfills because of their program. But the Basel Action Network and MIT's investigation concluded that tracking devices placed in old computers and dropped off at participating Goodwill locations ended up in Hong Kong, China, Taiwan, and Thailand. Beth Johnson manages Dell's program.
If there's something that did not follow the system, we would certainly want to know about it, and we would certainly take corrective action.
In a written statement, Goodwill Industries said it's committed to responsible recycling and encouraged its member organizations, which are autonomous, to review their contracts with Dell. Back in Hong Kong, Puckett finds more clues to the scale of the problem.
Laptop with an LCD screen ending up here in Hong Kong and New Territories from the Los Angeles school system. Unbelievable.
Puckett finds electronics from U.S. police departments, jails, hospitals, and libraries.
The government is always trying to save taxpayers' money, so they are obliged in some cases to always do the cheapest thing.
For now, market forces are driving e-waste exports.
Throwing it on the bank here.
Without a federal law banning the export of e-waste, there's little incentive for the industry to change.
Time to check our forecast with KPBS weather reporter Molly Cochran.
Well, we have been rather quiet across the viewing area, and that's set to continue into tonight and coming up into Wednesday. Here's a look at our satellite and radar. Really not too much to show for the state of California. We'll be dealing with a few low clouds moving in late, pretty typical, and then those clouds will burn off pretty quickly into our Wednesday afternoon. Hit or miss showers and thunderstorms near the Denver area, so if you have any upcoming travel plans and cross the interior sections of the Southwest, could be looking at a hit or miss shower or thunderstorm. But that's pretty much it. We still have this ridge mainly across the western coastline, and that's producing plenty of bright sunshine. So clear skies expected tonight early, then watching those low clouds move in late. Just something to keep in mind along the immediate coastline. 62 tonight in Oceanside, Ramona in the 50s, Mount Laguna also in the 50s here. Back towards San Diego, we should stay at 64 tonight, and that's actually above average for this time of year. We should be right around 61, so just a few degrees above. Area of high pressure camps out and continues to bring in the sunshine for Wednesday, specifically in the afternoon. So if you're waking up early, maybe heading back to the office on Wednesday, could be caught in some low clouds early. But other than that, pretty dry pattern we're stuck in. The interior sections of California continued to just feel the heat. Las Vegas and Phoenix set to be back in the triple digits on Wednesday. Here's a closer look along the immediate coastline. Temperatures in the afternoon pretty seasonable, and that means that they're pretty close to average this time of year. We should be right around 70 to 71 degrees, so just slightly above Wednesday into Thursday. Clearing skies for Friday. We'll have some low clouds back into Saturday, but some sunshine out for the afternoon. Temperature right around 71. So hopefully you can make those weekend plans happen. It's looking pretty nice around the area. Farther inland, temperatures in the 70s. Thursday into Friday with some sunshine peeking through the clouds by the afternoon. In the mountains, we'll be dealing with temperatures in the 80s for Wednesday and Thursday, so feeling a little bit warmer here. Partly to mostly sunny skies by the later half of the week. Overnight lows going to be dipping back into the 40s with our daytime highs back in the 70s for Friday and Saturday. Across the desert, triple-digit heat continues Wednesday into Thursday. Mostly cloudy skies on Thursday, but plenty of bright sunshine back on Friday and sticking around for the upcoming weekend with daytime highs in the mid to upper 90s. Molly Cochran, KPBS News.
2 years ago, Dickinson, North Dakota was one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S., all thanks to an oil rush. But falling oil prices mean a very different story now. The story from Emily Guerin of Inside Energy.
We're going to get out onto 22 and then we will start our journey. I've spent 2 years reporting on the Bakken oil field in North Dakota. I've seen it when it was booming back in 2014 and now when it's busting. There's one highway in the oil field town of Dickinson, Highway 22, where you can see the entire boom and bust story. So we're going on a road trip through Oil Bust Alley to see what we can learn in this 5-mile stretch of road about how a community changes when the price of oil crashes. Let's start with the obvious losers, businesses directly involved in the drilling and production of oil. So I'm standing in front of a field of stacked drilling rigs. There's about 27 back there, we just counted. And that's actually about the same amount that are actively drilling for oil in North Dakota. 2 years ago, when the price of oil was high, there were over 180. And it's really a sign of how much things have slowed down here in the oil field. Every time a drilling rig gets idled, about 120 people lose their jobs. People like Kaylee Haugen's husband, who worked on a drilling rig for over a decade before being laid off last year. Haugen has also seen a huge impact of the slowdown on her business, the uniform unit, which is right on Highway 22.
We do uniforms for a variety of industries. We do flame-resistant clothing for the oil and gas industry as well as electrical. We do scrubs, medical uniforms, and then we also have brought in tactical for the EMS management services.
The uniform unit just opened last spring, right as oil prices were tanking.
If we would have been operating, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would bet 90% of our business would have been oil field. Now I would say we're pretty even within the different fields. I mean, I would say 30% oil field, 30% tactical, 30% scrubs. So definitely different than I thought.
Hotels have also been hit hard by the slowdown. Over 1,000 new hotel rooms were built in Dickinson in the past 12 years. Connie Hank and Bill Evans manage and do maintenance in 3 of those hotels just off Highway 22.
When I got here in March of 14, there were no vacancies. If somebody checked out, you probably already had somebody's name who was waiting on that room.
You would have been paying $80 a night for a single and almost over just about $100 for a double. That was cheap. And now you can get a room for $32 a night. You know, that's a big change.
Drastic.
Now their hotels are at less than 30% occupancy.
Fish, come here.
They end up with a lot of time on their hands.
I'm sitting here waiting, praying that a car pulls into my parking lot. And, you know, and that is the truth. We looked like a bunch of vultures. The minute they walked in the door, I was like, hey, thank you for coming here, you know.
Just down the highway, there are signs that other parts of the housing market are also hurting.
So coming up, there's this man camp graveyard. I mean, it's just this field full of trailers that are just like jumbled together, almost piled on top of each other, because people don't have a need to house these workers anymore because they've laid off so many of their employees.
The slowdown in the oil field hasn't been uniformly bad. Custom cabinet maker TMI Systems had 25% growth last year. That means they need a lot of new workers.
And then over here, it's grabbing those boards and turning them if they need to be.
General Manager Tom Cronk says a few years ago, the cost of living was high in Dickinson due to the housing shortage brought on by the influx of oil workers.
But with the rents where they were at, it was tough to even attract people at that, because even though we had good wages, the rents were beyond where they could justify moving out here to work for us.
But now, there's no longer a labor shortage. There are far more applicants than job openings, and rental prices are dropping. So TMI Systems is having no trouble hiring.
As time went on, the oil field layoffs got deeper and deeper, and pretty soon we started seeing some of our former employees coming back.
Scott Wind is one of them. He worked at TMI for 21 years before leaving in 2012 to load crude oil onto rail cars.
For me, I was looking for a challenge, possibly a little higher pay. Obviously, that's an attraction for people. But with the slowdown in the oil business, I wanted to look for other opportunities, and one of the first things that came to mind for me was TMI.
The slowdown is also benefiting the local government. Dickinson City Administrator Sean Kessel says hiring is easier and expenses are lower because they no longer have to compete with higher oil field salaries. But on the downside, the oil bust has sent tax revenue tumbling.
So we've lost about $1.5 million into our general fund. That's a big hit for the general fund. Our general fund is about $16 million. So to lose 1.5 out of that fund causes you to be creative.
Creative. If I've learned anything covering the oil field, it's that oil booms and busts force communities, individuals, and businesses to be creative. Take this Taco Bell right on Highway 22.
You can order when you're ready.
Hi, can I get an order of nachos, please?
They couldn't hire or retain workers during the boom because it was so easy to get a higher paying job. So they decided to triage. For a while, only their drive-thru was open. You couldn't go inside. Now they're fully staffed again. As we headed out of town, we drove past the drilling rig graveyard one last time. For Kessel, those idled rigs are actually a sign that the oil industry hasn't given up on North Dakota.
What that means is when they stack them like that, they can respond quickly when things change. When that price goes up, they can just simply move it from that rig yard to wherever their list is on the wells that they want to invest in next.
Like many people in western North Dakota, Kessel wants the oil activity to come back, just not quite as crazy as last time.
That story was produced by Inside Energy, a reporting collaborative funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour. A public high school in Kentucky with transgender students on its wait list. That's Tuesday on the PBS News Hour.
The polls close here in California at 8 o'clock. Here's a look at Election Central at Golden Hall in downtown San Diego. We will be there tonight to bring you coverage and analysis of the results as they come in. The first numbers are expected shortly after 8, and we'll have them here on KPBS TV in a special election ticker on your screen. Then join us at 10 for the start of our live coverage from Golden Hall. We will have a live broadcast from 10 to 10:30, and then another live program from 11 to 11:30. We will bring you the latest results and analysis from Golden Hall and also from the election headquarters for San Diego's Democrats and Republicans. You can also hear our coverage on the radio at 89.5 FM and stay updated with results online at kpbs.org. Our coverage will continue tomorrow morning with updated election results and reactions from the candidates. And on Midday Edition, join Maureen Cavanaugh and her guests for the latest results and analysis. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thank you for joining us. Have a great evening, and we will see you again later tonight with our election coverage.